That's Based with Caleb Salvatore is a comedic informative production, meaning it covers serious topics in a humorous manner. Some of the opinions expressed are satirical hyperbole, some are not. Some of the content may not be suitable for all listeners. If you're easily offended, tune out now. We don't want pussy bleeding little bitches consuming our content. I have dementia and pooped my pants while visiting the Pope.
Welcome to That's Based. It is Sunday, June 2nd. I'm your host, as always, Caleb Salvatore. We're laughing our way through the end of days, reporting from somewhere underground. Happy Pride Month. Yeah, that's right. Happy Pride Month to all who celebrate, especially those queers over at the ATF. No, I am one of the few Republicans left that doesn't gay bash online. Listen, man, you're not going to catch me at a pride parade, but as long as everyone involves an adult, put your dick where you want to put your dick, or your lady parts where you want to put your lady parts. It doesn't bother me, as long as you are happy and not doing it in public. Shout out to our sponsors, Beach House Bar and Grill in Omaha, Nebraska, just north of 103rd and 4th Street. BeachHouse-Omaha.com promo code, or there is no promo code because their deals are already that good. BeachHouse-Omaha.com. This Saturday, June 8th, they are going to have at 8 p.m., it's free to get in, a karaoke contest hosted by judged by yours truly. 8 p.m., karaoke contest. We got prizes. You want to come out and win. You want to come out and sing your hearts out and be judged by none other than myself. This is your opportunity to do it. You're not going to get another opportunity like this in your life. BeachHouse-Omaha.com. They also have normal karaoke every Monday, poker on Tuesdays at 7 and 9. I might show up to the poker night this Tuesday. We'll see. They have got Wednesday trivia, Thursday music bingo from 7 to 9, then open mic from 9:30 to whenever they get done. One of the only places in town that's going to have live music every weekend, along with food. Great food, by the way. As Trump would do, some of the best food I've ever had. BeachHouse-Omaha.com, just north of 103rd and 4th Street. Okay, this is a special episode. I'm flying solo. Mia, the red face of white supremacy, is out this week. She is visiting her in-laws. She'll be back next, or visiting her family. They're my in-laws. She'll be back next week. Excuse me. She'll be back in town next week, but from this show through the Saturday show, it is just going to be me. We'll have some other special guests on throughout the week, but you're stuck with me. Just me. That's okay. I know she's everyone else's favorite part of the show. That's cool, though. So what we're going to do this week, I promised on the Saturday show, because we pre-taped it, knowing she was going to be out of town, I said that we would have a reaction show, a special show on Sunday, if the Trump verdict came out between Wednesday when we recorded and Saturday when it aired. And the Trump verdict did come out Thursday, and I recorded an initial response, kind of a bonus segment, on Thursday, moments after it came out. And we aired that one. If you want to go back and listen to it, it's on all the platforms that we're not banned from. Just growing by the day, it feels. But nonetheless, I'm a man of my word, so I wanted to do this Sunday one as well. And the reason I think this will be a good one is because that video was, that show was emotional. I went in with no notes, didn't have a ton of detail other than what we were being told in the moment as it was happening. The dust hadn't quite settled, but in the world of media, if you're a day late and a dollar short, you might as well just quit. So I had, with big stories like that at least, so I had to come out and get something going. Have something out there for you guys, but I think this will be good too, because as a Sunday show, this is it's going to be more nuanced. I've got some notes. I've got my thoughts put together a little bit better, I think. And I've had a couple days to let this news marinate and really form some opinions on this that maybe I didn't have in the heat of the moment. This will be more rationally charged than emotionally charged, more facts-based, right? So as we know, Donald Trump was found guilty, as every news station in the country has repeated ad nauseum over and over and over again, of 34 felony counts in the classified document case involving paying Stormy Daniels hush money to shut up about the affair. Now, At first glance, that's like, oh my God, 34 felonies. He could go to jail forever. And we'll get into that. I don't think that he's going to do any real time ever. I don't think he'll actually serve time. We'll talk about that in a minute. But what you got to realize, essentially the details of this case, is Donald Trump had an affair with Stormy Daniels. That's bad. I don't approve of people sleeping with people that, especially sleeping with people that they aren't married to or in a committed relationship when they are in a committed relationship. I don't approve of that. That's wrong. But that's his personal business. And we have had presidents with much bigger and darker skeletons in their closet than cheating on their wives. That is unfortunately, I mean, back when in the 90s, it shows how far we've fallen morally as a society. Clinton had an affair, and that was almost ended his presidency. Cheating on his wife. Now it's like, oh, that's all he did was cheat on his wife. Okay, and did he do anything actually? Like, did he commit any actual crimes? That's it. He had an affair. Okay, who gives a shit? But also at the same time, and I'm not excusing it. I think it's repulsive behavior. But people knew what they were getting. It's not like Donald Trump was secretive about his sexual history. He was a billionaire real estate developer turned reality TV star, playboy from New York City. Everyone that voted for him either knew what they were getting with that, or they were just a moron if they really thought that that guy was going to have the highest standard of moral character involving his past sexual partners. Again, not making excuses for it. I'm just calling it like it is. You elected a New York brawler real estate investor. I don't know what you thought you were getting. At least the women were of age. He's not on video sniffing little girls and shit like somebody else. So when he had this affair with Stormy Daniels, Stormy was going to go to the press and say, hey, who was a porn star, by the way, for those of you that don't know that yet, those of you living under a rock. Stormy said, hey, I'm going to go to the press and wreck your campaign unless you pay me this hush money. So he paid her the hush money, and this had happened before he started running. So he paid her the hush money, and he used his campaign funds to pay the hush money. It was just over $100,000. And he wrote it off as a campaign expense. And that's where they got him. That technicality. More or less, this boils down to him using the wrong bank account. That's what this boils down to. If he would have paid her from his business account, this would have went away. None of this ever would have happened. But he called it a campaign expense, which honestly, if we really want to break it down, I mean, what is a campaign expense is supposed to be something that can help you win your election. If we really want to sit here and argue the technicalities of it, I would say that would be money well spent. If he paid hush money to a porn star on an NDA, knowing that it was going to tank his campaign, I think that you want me to be completely honest, I think that would actually count as a campaign expense because it would help you get reelected if that didn't come out in the news. Nonetheless, they decided it wasn't. Now remember, this is literally boils down to him using the wrong bank account. People that own businesses, specifically sole proprietorships or LLCs where they're the only owner, will tell you all the time, and I'm not as extreme as hush money, but they've all done it. They've all pulled the wrong credit card out at a restaurant, or maybe they did it on purpose, or at the grocery store, and they put it on the business account. Now, whether or not they claim it as a business expense, that's a separate issue there. But they've all done it. And technically, yes, they are breaking the law. The problem is they haven't stirred as much controversy, so no one's coming after them. So this boils down to him using the wrong bank account that got him on 34 felonies. Very, very desperate. And we're going to break all of that down in a minute. But I will say, I was at the sports book last night after I got my ass handed to me in blackjack, which I don't want to talk about. But I was watching the Strickland fight, and one of the other TVs, a Biden ad came on, and one of my friends was there with a couple of my friends, and one of them started laughing at it. And I'm like, well, what's so funny? And I said, the Biden ad. It's just all attacks on Trump. All of it. It's just attacks on Trump. He doesn't talk anything about what he's accomplished. It's all just attack ads. I mean, normally you'll see 50-50. Attack ads aren't exclusive to Biden, but you'll see politicians will run attack ad, and then here's what I did that was so good in Congress or the White House or whatever office they're running for. You don't see that with Biden at all. You never see Biden run any type of ad about what he's accomplished. Everything is, I'm not the guy I'm running against. And I don't know if that's going to hold up. They can't run these ads touting their accomplishments because they have none, to put it bluntly. They have done nothing of substance since they've taken over. Everything they've done has either backfired or intentionally been a complete disaster. Everything they've done. So they have nothing to run on. And when they try to spin numbers and lie, unfortunately, there are too many resources available, including your own eyes every time you go to the gas pump or the grocery store, and people don't buy the line of shit they're feeding them anymore. So they have nothing to run on. All they can do is build a case against Donald Trump as a person and try to tear him down and hope and pray that that's enough. And this adds to that. So this ruling is lofty, to put it lightly. Even like liberal experts are saying there's no way this holds up on appeal. This is from a CNN, not Fox News, not InfoWars, which we'll talk about this week, InfoWars. Not OANN or whatever, not any of the conservative news networks, not outlaw streamers. This is Eli Honig from CNN. Describes this as a political hit job. This isn't some schmo on Twitter. This is a former federal and state prosecutor that's a senior legal analyst at CNN. So this is as unbiased toward the right as you could possibly get. Here's what it says from Intelligencer. Intelligencer is the name of the magazine it was published in. Prosecutors got Trump, but they contorted the law. And I'm not going to read the entire article, but I will read the top 8 bullet points. If you guys want to go check it out, it's intelligencer.com. Or it's an Intelligencer. It's on New York Magazine, but it's Intelligencer is the name of the segment. Sorry. The first one. The judge donated money. That's right. Judge Juan Merchan, the fair and balanced judge presiding over this case, donated money to a pro-Biden, anti-Trump political operation. By the way, in the state of New York, it's illegal for judges to make political donations, but they let this one fly. This right here should throw the entire... I should be able to stop this show right now and say, all right, we're done. This is it. This right here should get the entire case thrown out. Right here. The judge overseeing the case donated money illegally to a political operation that was not only in favor of Joe Biden, but outright against the guy who was on trial in his courtroom. So keep in mind, when they say that no one is above the law, that's bullshit, because the judge presiding over this case is quite clearly above the law in New York. Number 2, which I've said this till I was blue in the face on this show. Alvin Bragg, the prosecutor, ran his entire campaign, his entire election campaign, on I'm going to get Donald Trump. That's what, don't you think that maybe the judge and the head prosecutor on this case are just a little biased? Just maybe a little biased. Maybe we should find someone who's a little bit less biased to try this case and oversee it. Just maybe. He boasted on the campaign trail, it says, it is a fact that I have sued Trump over 100 times. And we'll talk more on Alvin Bragg in a minute here. So number 3, the DA's charges against Trump push the outer boundaries of the law and due process. Number 4, The charges are obscure and nearly entirely unprecedented. In fact, no state prosecutor in New York, Wyoming, or anywhere has ever charged federal election laws as a direct or predicate state crime against anyone for anything. None ever. And again, this is a lot like when I'm a New England Patriots fan, when they got caught in 2007 for Spygate, for recording hand signals and all that whatnot and all that crap. When they got charged in 2007 for Spygate, you had a bunch of former coaches come out and said, oh yeah, we all did that. All of us did that. We've all done it. If you think Donald Trump was the only one that has committed minor campaign finance infractions, you might be the most gullible human being on earth. There's a reason he's the only one they've gone after. It's because he was the guy that was never supposed to be president. He was the guy that was never supposed to get elected and doesn't play ball with them like they want to. He plays ball a little bit too much for my comfort, but not like they want him to. Says the DA inflated misdemeanors past the statute of limitations and electroshocked them back to life by alleging falsification of business records was committed with intent to commit another crime. Verse 6, inexcusably, the DA refused to specify what those lawful means actually were, and the judge declined to force them to pony up until right before closing arguments. So much for the constitutional obligation to provide notice to the defendant of the accusations against him in advance of trial. Number 7, in these key aspects, the charges against Trump aren't just unusual. They're bespoke, seemingly crafted individually for the former president and nobody else, which is exactly what I've been saying. Stop saying that no president is above the law. All of them are, except Donald Trump. That's the message we get here. You're only above the law if you decide to play ball and let us do whatever we want. Number 8, the Manhattan DA's employees reportedly have called this the zombie case because of various legal infirmities, including its bizarre charging mechanism. But it's better characterized as the Frankenstein case, cobbled together with ill-fitting parts into an awkward, ugly, and more or less functioning contraption that might just ultimately turn on its creator. There are other discrepancies with this case that aren't listed in this article. Like the fact that in the state of New York, what he was accused of, the statute of limitations was up until the state of New York went back and changed the law, went through the legislature and everything to extend the statute of limitations. Can you name one other person they do that for? One other person. They wouldn't do that for Al Capone. They wouldn't do that for El Chapo. They wouldn't do that for Timothy McVeigh. Not that they needed to, but they wouldn't have. But for Donald Trump, they do. Because the message is clear. You fall in line, or you get the axe. They extended the statute of limitations so they could go after him. This was and I'm not someone that likes Donald Trump. I got a lot of criticisms with Donald Trump. I don't like his foreign wars. I don't like a lot of the people he appointed and surrounded himself with. I don't like how he stood idly by and got out of the way so that the COVID regime could wreck the country for 2 years. I don't like how he banned bump stocks through an unconstitutional executive order. I got a lot of qualms with Donald Trump. But this is bullshit. So easily, somebody that's unbiased could take a step back and get a broader view and see that this is a witch hunt. It is undeniable. The only people I see who don't have any reservations with what happened, who are spiking the football and just outright celebrating, which is weird to celebrate this. Like, go touch grass and get a job. Find something to hobby, something to do, right? Take the dog for a walk. Fuck, I don't know. But the only people that I'm seeing that are just accepting this and aren't raising their eyebrows and don't have at least a couple of questions are unhinged liberals that never would have voted for Trump in the first place. There's also been allegations about Merchant's daughter, which I'm not going to run with, but because I don't have any concrete proof of this, but there have been allegations that really haven't been denied or disproven about her taking money from Democratic campaigns. That's the judge's daughter. This was also in New York, about as dark blue of a state, well, for now at least, as dark blue of a state as you can get. There's no way in hell Donald Trump could have got a fair trial in New York. No way in hell. And that's the problem. And we've with these this polarization, you have people, Democrats in red states moving to blue states and vice versa, is you get politicized courts. And when you have these judges that are clearly biased, that are partisan hack justices, and this is on both sides of the spectrum, this isn't exclusive to Democrats, that have been appointed by partisan hack governors or presidents in some cases, no one can get a fair trial. And the precedent's been set now, if you don't think it has. The precedent's been set that when you take office, you go after your political opponent. Biden opened this door, and it's going to bite him in the ass. But that's the problem with politicized courtrooms. Do you think Joe Biden could get a fair trial in Oklahoma? Of course not. Also, keep in mind that the Biden DOJ sent someone to work on this case and assist with it. This is not murder, not rape, not even racketeering. This is someone, again, using the wrong bank account. Do you think that they would have done this for some no-name politician running for a local election or even Congress? They wouldn't have cared. Again, hush money, not illegal. If this was hush money about, because she had seen him raping minors, then yeah, that's a different story. If this was hush money about his involvement in a drug cartel or a human trafficking ring or illegally selling weapons to terrorists, that's different. But it's not. He fucked a porn star. Morally wrong. I don't condone that. But we don't live in Saudi Arabia. Adultery is, as despicable as it is not illegal here. And it shouldn't be. I don't want the government getting involved with what consenting adults do in their bedroom. That's between him, his wife, this woman, and potentially divorce court. That's it. They also didn't allow Trump's team to bring in experts. They denied evidence after evidence, including that Stormy Daniels video we showed from Bill Maher from 2018, 2019. They denied so many pieces of evidence, said you can't do that. They essentially said you are not allowed to mount a defense. Not that it would have mattered because the decision had been pretty much made. That's what happened with Alex Jones. Alex Jones, with the Sandy Hook trial, said, I want a trial of my peers. And they said, okay, we'll give you a trial of your peers. And then the judge said, you're guilty, though. And all that jury is going to be able to do is decide how much money you have to pay. Technically legal? Sure. Unprecedented? Absolutely. They only take unprecedented legal measures to go after people that step out of line. You notice they don't take these measures to go after crime bosses, to go after murderers. Imagine if they had given half the effort to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell that they have to Donald Trump or Alex Jones. If they had used half the resources and half the weird exceptions and unprecedented legal measures to figure out who these people, who the elite political and financial pedophiles were that Epstein and Maxwell were trafficking little girls to. Could you imagine if they actually did that? But they won't. They'd rather do it over hush money to a porn star. You have a judge that told the jury they don't have to have a unanimous decision. Again, not technically illegal, but this is like a nearly 200-something-year-old statute in the state of New York that has never been used before, but they decided to drag it out to use it against this guy. You're telling me it's not a witch hunt. And that's the problem, is they give the gaslighters and retards on the left just enough ammunition to where they can go, well, it's legal. Here's the text. Yeah, it's technically within the law, but it's never been used before. They just now decided to use it against Trump. Now, they did have a unanimous decision, which they should have. Because if the person on trial isn't allowed to mount a legal defense, and you have a jury in the most liberal city in the country against the most famous man on earth, then yeah, you should be able to get a unanimous decision. And that's my thing, is I see folks on the left, specifically from the regime and the establishment, accusing Donald Trump and other conservatives of sowing distrust in our institutions. No, you guys don't get it. The institutions so distrust in themselves. They do a fantastic job of that themselves. They don't need Donald Trump. They don't need J.D. Vance. They don't need anybody, Alex Jones, anyone, to sow distrust in them. They do that themselves when they do shit like this. When they lie to our faces about COVID restrictions. When the intelligence agencies, the FBI, the CIA, you name it, frame a sitting president for treason, for colluding with Russia, knowing that it wasn't true while he was in office. They sow distrust in themselves. They destroy their own credibility. When the courts take out unprecedented statutes from 200 some years ago to go after one guy and outright say, hey, we're doing this just to take this one guy down. And you have the president of the United States coming out and holding speeches outside the courtroom. You have the White House press secretary, Kareem Jean-Pierre, saying that Mike Johnson showing up there, or Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, showed up at the courtroom because the case is about the 2024 election. When you have AOC saying it's about making sure he can't campaign outside of New York. Yeah, that's a good way to sow distrust in the legal system. And what happened to Trump has woken people up. Has woken a lot of people up that, hey, no, I mean, our legal system's better than Russia or North Korea, sure. But it's woken a lot of people up that, hey, this isn't just happening to him. Innocent men get convicted and put away for long periods of time, sometimes even killed in this country every single day. Every day this happens. And it don't matter what race you are, what gender you are, your religion, gay, straight, none of it matters. Innocent people get railroaded in court, and unfortunately, 99.99999% of them aren't billionaire former presidents. So if you think this is only happening to Trump, if only one person, and obviously they wouldn't take the same measures to screw you, like I just said, but only one person has been railroaded by the legal system in this country, you're out of your mind. And there's a lot of people saying, hey, look, we've been telling you this has been going on for a long time. And I think this may or may not help him with some of these people that have been screwed. So next we go to sentencing in July. Which of course they put right after the debates. So if Biden makes a fool out of himself in the debate, it's not going to matter. But we go to sentencing in July. And then what happens? Again, there are legal experts across the political spectrum saying it would be unprecedented for him to do jail time over this. Unfortunately, the case itself is unprecedented. They say technically every charge could do 5 years. 4 to 5 years. I don't remember what it was. 4 to 5 years. But this is a first-time offense. It's not a violent felony. It's a technicality. I can't see them sentencing him to actual jail time over this. I just can't. I can't see that happening. Yes, 34 counts, but that was in the same case. If they had caught him 34 times, that would be different. Now, there's people in New York City that rob, rape, and assault 34 times and keep getting let out on bail, so maybe, but we already know that the same laws don't apply to Donald Trump as they do to violent criminals. So they could very well sentence him to jail, which I think would be the dumbest thing they could do. It would also make a great reality TV show, by the way. Side note. So what happens? Well, Trump's a Florida resident. If he's sentenced to jail and they say, you got to report by this day, what if he goes back to Florida and the day he's supposed to go to jail comes and Ron DeSantis says, I don't think we're going to extradite? There's a possibility that happens and kicks off more or less a cold civil war in this country. If Ron DeSantis wants to endear himself and rebuild his trust and fall back into good graces with a lot of the Trump crowd that he knows he needs to win a primary in 2028, he could very well say, we're not extraditing, come and get him. And we'll line the state police and the National Guard up, and we're not going to let you come get him. There's a possibility that happens. I don't know how good it is, but I'd say it's about 15 to 20%. So it's something to think about. Getting some postnasal drip. That's not good. Allergy season is upon us. But there's a possibility that happens. And it could get weird because, I mean, they wouldn't be able to stop him from campaigning around the country. And as a former president, he's still got Secret Service detail. And that Secret Service, their job is to protect the president. So if feds came to say he's campaigning in Ohio, he's just not going to New York, and the feds came out to get him, or bounty hunters, or whatever the case may be, you could see a shootout between the Secret Service and the feds. We're entering, the point I'm making is, I don't think it'll get that far, but the point I'm making is we're entering uncharted waters here. We have no idea how far this will go or how it will end. These next 5 months are going to be the most contentious and tense in this country since the Cold War. For different reasons. This time it's internal, it's not external. I also love the tweet from Joe Biden. He's had a couple stupid tweets. His big one, though, no one is above the law. Really? No one. Not even your son, whom there's a video of arguing with a prostitute about how they got ripped off on the crack that was visibly on the scale. No one's above the law. Are you sure about that? Because in New York City, rapists, murderers, and illegal immigrants and other violent criminals are repeatedly above the law. They can do whatever the hell they want. In fact, the only person in New York City who is not above the law appears to be Donald Trump, because Alvin Bragg is infamous for letting violent criminals off the hook easily, for putting repeat offenders back onto the streets and refusing to prosecute. And if that's what the people in New York City want in a prosecutor, that's fine. They can vote for that, whatever. But when the one case he actually decides to try is the former president who wrote a check from the wrong bank account, we got to ask some questions here. And Bragg's a known Marxist. He's a lot like what you saw in Portland, in San Francisco. Both of those prosecutors lost their reelection, mind you. Bragg's a known Marxist, and we've covered a million times. Marxists have to destroy a country before they can rebuild it in their shithole dream, their shithole fantasy. Bragg's a known Marxist. The top way that these Soros prosecutors work to usher in a Marxist quote-unquote utopia is to let violent offenders back out onto the streets where they can continue to cause more chaos, and people eventually come to the government and beg them to step in and save the day, and then you usher in an authoritarian police state. And it's a long story. We've done entire episodes on that. So Bragg's part of the controlled demolition. He's part of the people that are intentionally destroying this country. Just the one time he actually decided to do his job was about a guy using the wrong bank account. 2 different books. No one's above the law, except Joe Biden, who they declined not to prosecute over the him taking classified documents, not because he didn't do it or because there wasn't evidence that he did it. They declined to prosecute him for taking the classified documents because they said he had a poor memory. A poor memory. By the way, the White House has admitted yesterday, June 1st, that they altered the transcript of the testimony with Robert Hur to make him appear less incompetent. They said, you can't release this. We need to go change it. So him forgetting when his son died, that wasn't the worst of it. There's stuff we don't even know. Side note about Dementia Man. What about George Bush lying about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq? Is he above the law? What about Barack Obama running a drone strike on American citizens in another country? Is he above the law? Fun fact, there's no statute of limitations on what Obama did. A red state could prosecute Obama any day, whenever they want to. And I love watching the left defend that. Love watching the left defend that. But here's what they'll do. They get these buzzwords. The regime does. The media gets these talking points where they all have to come out in lockstep and repeat the same talking points. You saw it with COVID, with the new normal. You saw it with the 2020 election, the freest and fairest election of our time. You saw it with Russian collusion. They get these words that they're all fed because the administrations had released documents that have proven this, where they're leaked documents that have proven this, where they say a consistent point beat home multiple times a day from multiple quote unquote trusted sources will eventually sway public opinion. That in other words, if you repeat the same lie long enough, eventually people start to believe it. That's essentially what they've said. So this convicted felon is going to be the new buzzword. So buckle up. That's what you're going to hear the words convicted felon put in front of Donald Trump's name every single day between now and November. Convicted felon will be the word of choice that they use to describe him. Not former president, convicted felon. Because if they repeat that enough, eventually something sets in subconsciously in certain people's heads and say, I can't vote for a convicted felon. Believe it or not, there are people that go to the ballot box on election day and make the decision inside the ballot box as to who they're going to vote for. That should scare you, that's how this country is run. Democracy, right? It's so sacred. There are people that will go to the ballot box after hearing 6 months of convicted felon, convicted felon, convicted felon, convicted felon. And despite the shithole economy, they will check Joe Biden's name. Here's the thing, though. I think this will backfire. I think it will backfire in the sense that they have pulled out all the stops to stop this man. All the stops to stop this man. And they could still lose. This will be. Do you want to talk about discrediting the institutions? If Donald Trump gets elected in November, that will be the most embarrassing moment in the history of this country for the establishment. They will be in shambles if that happens. You've pulled out all the stops. You convicted this guy of 34 felonies. And you still lost. That's what I'm saying. They're bragging about these new polls that are coming out where Biden's up by a point. I'm like, that's not a win, dude. That initial bump in the polls is going to be the biggest bump they get because that's how these things work. When big news comes out like that, you see an initial shift. It's usually the most dramatic. And then about a month later, it usually fades out unless something else comes up. And it goes back to where it was. Because those big news stories are temporary. The shitty economy and the fact that we're constantly on the brink of World War III are permanent. Those are long-term issues. So, yes, initially when the shock of Trump getting convicted sets in, you're going to see Biden's going to see a 3-4% jump in the polls, which you've seen. That's what's happened. But that's not a huge jump. He's up by 1, maybe 2 points in all of the post-conviction polls. Mind you, these polls are also hurried out and they're not as scientific, so it's probably not as high. That's probably giving him too much credit. You'll see about a week where they might go up a little bit more, and then they're going to start going back down. So the big push you got from this isn't enough. You convicted this guy of a felony, and you're only up by 1 or 2%. That should tell you all you need to know about what a disaster this administration has been. They would have to, at this point, in order to bury him to the point where he can't win, they would have to, in a fair election, they would have to find him with something egregious, child porn, body in his basement, something horrible that they could convict him on that would force the Republicans' hand to get him out of there. That's essentially where they're at. But I want to see what the polls say in a month. I don't care that he's up by 2% in the Reuters poll after the conviction. Reuters is a well-known Democratic hack magazine. I don't care what Reuters says. By the way, Biden was up by 4 a month ago in that same Reuters poll. Now he's up by 2. I bet if they would have pulled it a week ago, he would have been losing. Because these bumps, we've seen these in the past. News will come out about Trump, and Biden will say, or something quote unquote positive that Biden did. He'll see a temporary boost in the polls, and then about a week or two go by, and he's right back to where he was. So I want to see what the polls say in a month. I don't care what they say right now. I don't think they mean much. I don't think the polls are conducted very well. I want to see what they say in a month. And I believe in the polls a lot more than a lot of people do. I know everyone says that the polls were wrong in 2016, but if you look at them, they really weren't. All of the swing states were close. They were all within the margin of error, right, that Trump won by. And then the national polls had Hillary Clinton up by 2 to 3% on average, which she did. She won the national average. She won the national popular vote by about 2 or 3%. So they were actually accurate. They're more accurate than people give them credit for. But what they're doing right now is they're martyring this guy. They've martyred Donald Trump. And it gives people something to rally around. Do you remember the first Star Wars, the New Hope? There's a scene where Obi-Wan and Darth Vader are fighting each other, the lightsaber duel, right? The first movie. And Obi-Wan realizes that Darth Vader has him beat. He's done. He's too old. Vader's going to kill him here. And Obi-Wan says, I'm going to warn you right now, I'm paraphrasing, but if you strike me down now, I will become more powerful than you could possibly imagine. And Vader killed him, and then Obi-Wan comes back as a ghost, helps train Luke Skywalker, and they ultimately destroy the Empire. He knew he couldn't destroy the Empire by himself because he didn't have the power to do it, but they found a guy who did have the power to do it, and he came and actually was able to train him and influence things in another way. That's what you have here. They struck him down, and he may just become more powerful than they want. Another example, sports. Do you remember the Deflategate witch hunt with Tom Brady? Another witch hunt about deflated footballs. The NFL went after Brady for no reason. And they went back and forth in court. Ultimately, the suspension wound up getting upheld because the NFL, it was nothing to do with the evidence. They even said, hey, there's no evidence of this. But the collective bargaining agreement that the players had signed said the NFL could suspend anybody for any reason they wanted to, with or without proof. So they suspended Brady for 4 games. And if you remember, Brady came out in those next 12 games and had one of the best seasons he'd ever had. Ever. And just absolutely wrecked the NFL. He played with a chip on his shoulder and pissed off. You remember that? The Deflategate season? Came out with a chip on his shoulder. Played 12 games. Won the Super Bowl. Went 11-1. And then undefeated in the postseason. 14-1. Oh, I got the stats here because I love Tom. 28 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. To throw 2 interceptions in a single season. I don't care if you played 12 games. 2 interceptions in a single season. He had the best career, one of the best seasons of his career, given the limited sample size, and won the Super Bowl. Because he came out mad. There are certain human beings that when you knock them down, that's actually the worst thing you could do to them. Because they come back fighting mad. Donald Trump, when he is the underdog and he is backed up into a corner, is a lot like a raccoon in a garage that doesn't want to get out of that garage, and it's going to fight to the death. And it'll give you fucking rabies and scratch you up or whatever the case may be, but it's going to fight to the end. Donald Trump, with his back up against the wall, like he was in 2016, is so much more difficult of a candidate to beat. And that's exactly what the Democrats have given themselves, is a raccoon in a garage. And it already looks like this isn't going to go anywhere. Because now they're floating out rumors. It's all rumors with Trump. Everything's hearsay. Everyone heard something, but they never have proof. That he supposedly said, there's supposedly a tape of him from when they were recording his TV show on NBC, The Apprentice. There's supposedly a tape of him saying the N-word. Here's my question. That is actually something that would ruin someone in an election, especially a national one. This guy has run for president 2 times. He has had every network, all of the intelligence agencies, and many major banks and corporations rallying against him. How are we just now hearing about this? You're telling me this guy ran for president twice and they never rolled this tape out. We never heard it. And only one person's heard him say it. Well, just one. Especially the second time. I mean, there were people in the media that legitimately felt that if he got a second term, he was going to be the next Hitler, which is hilarious. I mean, everyone's saying he's going to be a dictator. Why didn't he do it in the first 4 years? Actually went pretty well. But you had people saying he was going to be the next Hitler and it was the end of the United States as we know it, that worked in the media for NBC. Why didn't this get released? It was the third time he ran for president that we decided, well, technically fourth if you count the brief stint in 2000, but the third time he actually ran for president, they decided to roll this out. That's what they waited till. Isn't it crazy how they waited until AI technology that could flawlessly mimic someone's voice was out? It's crazy how they sat on this until that technology came out. If audio does come out, I wouldn't believe it. Because if it were real, it would have been rolled out. Do you really think The Apprentice was on NBC? This man's been running for president since 2015. NBC is among the networks that has absolutely just tarnished his name. Do you really think that NBC would sit on this tape for 9 years? 9 years. Do you think NBC would sit on this? Absolutely not. That would have been your October surprise in either 2016 or 2020. You figure it out. I don't know which one. But it would have been rolled out once. I refuse to believe this. I don't believe this for a second. Again, it's crazy. Guys run for president 2 times prior to this. You have this horrible damning tape that would destroy anyone's campaign, even his. And they wait to roll this tape out or even float the idea of it until AI and deepfake technology has advanced to the point that you cannot tell the difference between somebody talking and a robot. And I told you guys this was going to happen. We did a whole segment on this about 6 months ago with Chance Johnson. Isn't it crazy? Again, oh, look at that. I'm right. I was right again. I predicted something happened. Yeah, we'll get sure. Why not? I was right again. Another prediction comes true. I told you, go back and listen to that AI episode where we were talking about, it was right when those AI deepfake songs about 6-7 months ago started coming out. And I told you all, this is going to be used to influence elections. What's happening? I told you, they're going to take politicians' voices, because when you've got hours and hours of yourself speaking recorded all over the place, and they're going to find quote-unquote secret recordings, or all these secret recordings are going to come out of them saying heinous and racist things in private. There you have it. Another prediction comes true. If I were a grifter, I would start selling like psychic services to you guys, but I'm not. I'm not a psychic. I can't predict the future. I'm just good at looking at patterns and telling you what comes next. And I usually call it about 6-7 months in advance. So when I tell you something's going to happen on this show, that this is in the near future, I got to be batting close to 1,000. I don't keep record, but my predictions have got to be batting, like 950. So what happens next? Where does this all go? What do I think should happen next? That's what you're here for, right? I think that it's war politically, not physically. It's not that. I think this is a political war, though. Politically. I think it's time to fight back. It's time to get nasty. We have lost for far too long because we have said, we're going to stand by. We're going to step aside. We're going to take the high road and turn the higher cheek. Yeah, turn the other cheek. Yeah, the Democrats are going to cheat, but we're better than that. You know what? We can be better than that all we want in second place. If they get nasty, it's time for us to get nasty. I want dark red counties. all over the country. Like I said, Biden can't get a fair trial in Oklahoma. Go after that whole family. Any state can try Barack Obama right now for murdering U.S. citizens with a drone strike overseas. Those charges should be filed Monday, tomorrow morning. Go after them. Show them what they have done. Show them what the precedent they have set is going to do to them. Show them that this opening of Pandora's shitbox will be used to destroy the Democratic Party and the establishment as we know it. When we take power back, and we will. Here's the problem. I'm doing too many nerdy movie references here. Here's the problem. In the beginning of the first Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship, not the Hobbit bullshit, they killed Sauron because he had the Ring of Power. And Isildur, God, I feel like such a fucking nerd, but Isildur took the ring, and they're standing over Mount Doom, and they said, destroy it, destroy it. And he didn't destroy it. He kept it for himself. He lost it. He got killed, long story short. We need to throw this ring in the fire. If you don't wipe it out, it will come back. And it will come back angrier and meaner. Because as we've seen, power changes hands. They want to cheat? Cool, let's stomp them out. If they want to cheat and they want to abuse the legal system, let's do it right back. But let's escalate things so high once we take power back in November, over the next 4 years, that the Democratic Party is a shell of itself and they have nothing left. Let's destroy them nationally. Leave nothing left of these people. And that's establishment Republicans too. That don't just stop at Democrats. The Tony guy, and I'm not saying these guys have done anything worth going to court over individually, but the folks like the Tony Gonzalez, Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, Dan Crenshaw, Nikki Haley, you better watch out too. Because we're going to use the court system to take you down. Stomp out the establishment. You take the precedent that they have set and destroy them with it. Throw the ring into the fire. Make sure that these dark armies from Mordor don't come back in 150 years and wreak havoc upon the world. Because that's what happened in Lord of the Rings. Had they thrown that ring into the fire instead of preserving it, none of that would have happened. A better example, the Cold War never would have happened had we listened to General Patton. General Patton, after we defeated the Nazis, after the U.S. defeated the Nazis, said, I'm telling you right now, the Soviet Union will be more dangerous than Germany and Japan combined to the global peace structure if we don't go in there and do something now. The Soviet Union, contrary to what idiots online will tell you, barely survived World War II. Had the Americans learned from the Germans' mistakes and went into Russia while the war machine was already churning and killed Stalin, the Cold War never would have happened. What you're seeing in Ukraine right now never would have happened had we buried them when we had the chance to do it. But because we didn't, actions, or lack of actions in this case, have consequences. When we reassume power, and we will, if we do not bury the establishment and the Democratic Party as a whole, we will regret it. They will be our Russia. They will be our ring of power, Sauron. Heed my warning. Heed my warning and go to drinkbloodofTyrants.com and use the promo code BASED at the checkout, like the title of the show, to save yourself 10% off of your order. BASED. drinkbloodofTyrants.com. They've got red Merlot Blood of Tyrants wine, white Tears of Tyrants wine. And if you're not someone who likes to drink alcohol, or if you're someone that does like to drink alcohol, but you still don't have enough of a kick in you to start your day, get the Liquid Freedom Energy Drink, which comes with 0 sugar, 0 calories, 0 carbs, and 0 fucks given. All natural ingredients, by the way. Check it out. drinkbloodofTyrants.com, promo code BASED, BASED. like the title of the show, is going to save you 10% off your order. It's cool. The fact we live in a country where alcohol can be shipped directly to your door is magnificent. That's right. They'll ship the wine to your house. That's reason enough to buy it, to just celebrate the ingenuity of capitalism. And what a fantastic country we do live in, despite all of our flaws. DrinkBloodOfTyrants.com. Promo code BASED, BASED. Like the title of the show is going to save you 10% off your order at the checkout. That's been our show. Like I said, since Mia's not in town, I don't know what we're going to do for the Monday show. We're not going to do unsolicited advice. I will try to come up with something on the fly and figure something out. Maybe we'll just have some comics on and BS around for a little bit. I haven't done that in a long time. But stay tuned. We'll see you guys Monday. If not Monday, we'll definitely see you Wednesday and Saturday. Cheat on your taxes, not your spouse. And as always, stay based.